I keep hearing stories from friends who grabbed a $150 budget wine cooler off a marketplace, only to end up with a unit that rattles every time the compressor kicks on and leaves their bottles forever stuck at a lukewarm temperature. The regret is real, especially when you've set up a small home bar and that cheap fridge turns your evenings into a guessing game. So the question is, does the Troppo Dual Zone wine and beverage refrigerator feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another flash-in-the-pan promise? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you first stare at the glossy glass door, it's easy to imagine a sleek, restaurant-quality display sitting on your countertop or tucked under a counter. The hesitation most of us feel isn't about looks, it's about whether the unit will actually keep a Cabernet at 55°F and a six-pack of craft beer at a crisp 38°F without fighting each other for cooling power. I've spent a few weeks watching how it performs in a typical apartment kitchen, swapping bottles in and out, and listening for that dreaded compressor hum. The experience feels a lot less hopeful and more tested, which is the kind of reassurance you want before you click add to cart. First off, the dual zone design is the real differentiator. One side stays at a cooler setting, perfect for lagers, sodas, or even canned cocktails, while the other side holds a slightly warmer range that wine lovers swear by for reds and whites alike. In practice, that means you can keep a few bottles of Pinot Noir ready for dinner, while a family member grabs a cold brew from the opposite side without having to wait for the whole unit to settle after you open the door. For anyone who entertains regularly or just enjoys a glass after work, that separation eliminates the classic wine gets too cold dilemma. The touch control panel is another spot where the unit shines. It's not a fancy app or a Wi-Fi hub you need to configure, you simply tap the screen, set the temperature for each zone, and the display shows you the current degrees. During my testing, the response was immediate, and the temperature held steady after a few minutes of adjustment. The quiet operation is noticeable, too. Most of the time the compressor is so subdued that you forget it's even running. That's a real win for open-plan living spaces where a humming fridge can become background noise for conversations or a movie night. Capacity is something people always ask about, and this model holds about 33 standard wine bottles plus roughly 100 cans in the beverage zone. In my kitchen, that translates to a modest but functional selection, a few bottles for personal enjoyment, a small stack of gift-wrapped wines for holidays, and enough room for a weekend's worth of beer. It isn't a massive seller, but it's far beyond the 2 bottles max limit you see on many countertop models. If you're a collector with a growing inventory, you'll eventually outgrow it, but for a couple of years it feels comfortable. Installation flexibility is a subtle but important factor. The unit can sit as a freestanding fridge or be built under a counter, which makes it adaptable to both renters and homeowners. In my case, I placed it on the floor next to the pantry, and the footprint didn't dominate the space. The only caveat is that the rear needs a few inches of clearance for airflow, so you can't shove it flush against a wall. That's a simple trade-off that most people can accommodate when planning the spot ahead of time. Now, who should seriously consider this cooler? If you're a wine enthusiast who enjoys both reds and whites, want a dedicated spot for your favorite craft beers, and have a kitchen that can spare a 30-inch wide appliance, this unit fits nicely. It's also a solid pick for small office kitchens where a manager wants to keep a selection of beverages chilled without taking up the whole breakroom fridge. The dual zone capability means you can serve clients a glass of Merlot and a cold soda without juggling 2 separate appliances. On the flip side, there are clear reasons to skip it. If you're looking for a massive wine cellar that holds hundreds of bottles, the 33-bottle limit will feel restrictive quickly. Likewise, if you live in a studio apartment with no dedicated space for a 30-inch unit, the footprint may be too demanding. The glass door, while stylish, can fog up when you open it after a hot kitchen run, which can be a minor annoyance if you need to see the bottles immediately. Also, the LED lighting inside is bright and blue-tinted. Some users find it a bit harsh for a dimly lit dining area, though it's easily dimmed via the touch panel. A practical weakness that became evident after a week of use is the temperature swing when you open the door frequently. The beverage zone can climb a few degrees if you're pulling cans for a party, but it drops back within 10 minutes. If you need a super precise environment for delicate sparkling wines that